Evening, everybody, and welcome. We're at COTA, and it's a sprint weekend. 5.5 kilometer circuit, speeds of 344 kilometers an hour, around 20 corners, and an incredible elevation change of 40 meters. Back in 2012, the first race at this circuit, Jenson Button versus Michael Schumacher. And then Charles Leclerc raising some eyebrows against Sebastian Vettel in 2019. And then how could you look back in history without finding a battle between the Silver Arrows, Hamilton versus Rosberg in 2014? Of course, the drivers will have the option of the soft, the medium, and the hard. But remember, this is a SAFRL sprint, which means there will be no quali session. The way we're going to get things started is the way the championship currently stands. We're going to reverse that order. That order is going to start the sprint race. So if you're last in the championship, you're going to get pole position for the sprint race. And then that sprint race will go on to form our grid order for the feature race. We start off by looking at the pits, but don't get used to it because we're going to get underway shortly. Remember, straight into the sprint race, no quali session. Reverse championship order will determine the grid. Thanks to everyone in the comment section. I'm glad you enjoyed the intro. Now wait action to begin. Obviously, if you watched the stream last night for SKR, we had a race with no virtual safety cars, no safety cars, and no retirements. And it was a bore. So hopefully the field will be a lot closer today. Obviously in a sprint race you have a relatively close field throughout. Short amount of laps, not a lot of time to get too far away, and obviously no pit stop. 5 red lights. And there we go. We're underway. It's going to be Top Gun versus Jacques into turn 1. And we've already got a car going off. That's Top Gun. He started at the front. He's already going towards the rear, down into P14 the last time we checked. Mr. Rem out front, Daffrodox P2, then Virus making up the top 3. And as I say that, Virus falls down the order quite violently actually. We've got a caution flashing in the top left. Hopefully it stays at that. And as I say that, we get our first virtual safety car. Mr. Rem leads the way. Race neutralized in the early stages. It's going to be just a 10 lap race. Aphrodite sitting in P2. He had a strong race last night in SKR, dominated the field. See if he will be able to emulate that result here tonight. Possible race strategies. Thank you very much to the game there. 0 stops, 0 stops. Wouldn't have guessed it. Still under virtual safety car. It's been a lengthy virtual safety car. Hopefully we get underway. These drivers will have just been getting geared up to get going, and then suddenly a stop. Anything can just put you off somewhat, and they'll want to get going, they'll want to get on with this. But still, virtual safety car appears on the top left. Another thing for all the drivers, if they're listening, need to be so careful when that virtual safety car ends. Make sure you don't get a penalty. Seen it so many times. Aphrodite leads the way. Mr. Rem slots into P2, does he, or is he going to fight it? Actually, Jacques has gone up into P2. Mr. Rem down to P3. He's followed by his teammate Big T. Then Buffelsfontein trying to hold on to P5, but he's under pressure from Logic. Alpine all over the back of the Ferrari. Logic's got his own problems. Reese P7, Microstatic P8, Pandristar P9. Field very close together. It looks like we had a full safety car, but that's not the case. The field just hadn't been able to spread out yet. Brands just outside the top 10. As I say that, pops into the top 10. Pandristar demoted out of the points. A long way to go. I say out of the points. The top 10 is not the points. Remember, sprint race. Top 8 score points. Aphrodite leads the way. Jacques P2 for Ferrari. Then Big T P3 holding on to that position. Reese, he's been making up his way through the field up into P4. Logic, the first of the two Alpines. We have a full grid here tonight. 20 cars. Remember, this is not just a sprint race you can throw away. Something you can just be reckless, go for the result. This is an important sprint race. This sets the grid. If you have a bad result in this race, it means you're going to start with your hands tied behind your back. Reese still P5, Buffelsfontein follows them. You can see those two cars just ahead of him. Microstatic starting to fall adrift a little bit. He's coming under pressure from Brands. Brands under pressure himself from It's Free. DRS trains all over the circuit, as to be expected in these early stages. Soon the DRS will come into play. Madwell up into P12. Remember, your top drivers in the championship started at the rear of the field. So we should be seeing a lot of overtaking. And we are seeing a lot of overtaking. Let's just have a look at your position changes. Top winner, there we go. Brands 10 positions so far. So he's made up a lot of ground. And then Andre's actually lost 16 positions since the start of the race. So he'll be looking to turn things around. Early stages not going as planned. You can see a majority of the field has decided to do the race on the medium. Mr. Rem, having other ideas, has decided to do it on the hard. And then we have Simpson Mango on the soft, possibly hoping for a safety car. Can you simply do the entire distance on a set of softs? The rest of the field doesn't seem to think so. Fantastic aerial shots of the S's here in COTA. Obviously COTA has certain design elements taken from tracks around the world. And that S's complex is there to emulate Maggots and Beckett's. Of course, the long sweeping corner you see in Sector 3, that comes from the Turkish circuit. Herman Tilke taking inspiration from circuits around the world when building the circuit of the Americas. Aphrodite followed by Jacques. These two out front quite clearly now, 3 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Big T follows in P3, but now 3 seconds adrift. He's got a long DRS train behind him. Wonder if he's just holding up that field. It's Big T followed by Logic, then Reese and Brands, the two Mercedes, Bifflesfontein P7, Microstatic P8, it's Ferrari and Madwell, the two McLarens in P9 and 10. Madwell a little bit adrift. It's Ferrari at the rear of that very long DRS train that is fighting potentially for third place. Lots of action out on track in the early stages. Nobody really able to open up a gap except the leaders. P1, P2, they're trading places and they're 3 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Big T will be trying to hold on to those two as they fight. Try and take some sort of advantage, reel them in. But it's going to be so difficult when you're the leader of a DRS train. It means you're the only man in that train not to have DRS. So Big T finally drops his defense, goes down to P4. Logic now, he's going to have a chance at some clean air. And let's see if he's able to come back at these leaders. They've got a 3-second advantage. Aphrodite versus Jacques. Jacques led the race briefly. Aphrodite has taken the lead back. Gap is 0.7 of a second. Keep your eyes on these leaders. Keep your eyes on Logic. It's going to be crucial. Is he able to close that 3-second gap? Or is he going to be the next victim of the DRS train? So easy to fall back in that DRS train. Use all of your battery trying to stay in front. Eventually that battery comes to an end and you can get swallowed up pretty quickly. Jacques still P2. 0.6 of a second behind Aphrodite. 2.8 seconds down the road is Logic, so he's closed the gap ever so slightly, but not enough. Big T just behind. Then we have the two Mercedes running very close together. They don't want to run into each other though. 5 and 6. Microstatic P7. It's Ferrari making up ground. Last time we saw him he was in P9. He's now up into P8. Bifflesfontein P9. And he's being passed by another McLaren now. This time it's Madwell. Madwell up into P9. The McLarens 8 and 9. We have a caution out on circuit, and that's for this car over here. We have an Alpine doing donuts in the middle of the circuit. That is Microstatic. Reese picks up a 3-second time penalty at the same time, but Microstatic able to get back on his way. Seems like he's left the session, but as things stand, still 20 runners in the lobby. Now Madwell making up another position, this time going past his teammate. He goes up into P7. His next target will be the two Mercedes up the road from him, Reese and Brands. We've got Big T still doing a good job in P4. Logic, remember he cleared Big T not so long ago. We thought he might be able to close the gap. He is closing the gap, but not as quickly as he'd like. That gap 2.4 seconds. It was 3 seconds when he made the pass. So he has found 0.6 of a second over those leaders as they were battling, but they're no longer battling because that gap is 1.5 seconds. So he's going to help when the cars in front are in a bit of a scuffle. That is no longer the case. Logic's going to have to get there on pace alone. Now Brands takes up a position, goes up into P4, but will he be able to hold on to it? Ooh, there's been contact. That was contact, but the Mercedes does come out on top. We didn't see any carbon fiber from any of the cars flying around. So I think for now it's fair game. Brands up into P4. Remember, this sets the grid for the feature race. Basically, this is a qualifying session with points for the top 8. Of course, this is what qualifying looked like in the 90s. Very different format to what we have today. Everybody got 12 laps in total, that including your out laps and your in laps. And you had to manage those 12 laps to the best of your ability. You had 60 minutes to do it. And often what would happen was the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes of the session, absolutely nothing happened. Everyone would sit in the pits, wait for the smaller teams to go out and set some rubber, and the big teams would only come out with half an hour to go, and it looked like a race. There were so many cars out on circuit, and everyone was fighting for position. Afrodox leads the way, 1.9 seconds. Jacques still a comfortable P2, but Logic and Brands, they're fighting it out for the final podium position. Look how close this is, going side by side through multiple corners. And for now, the Alpine stays in front. But that was fantastic driving from both drivers, showing respect, showing space. And without respect from both of them, that could go very, very wrong. Brands on the back of Logic was wheel to wheel with him not so long ago. He's going to open up DRS up this huge climb we have up into turn 1. Does he have the momentum? I think he's there before turn 1. Yes, he is. Alpine does everything he can to squeeze him, and he might just come back at him, you know. But I think the Mercedes has got it right this time round. Brands up into P3. Fantastic battle between the two of them. Now Madwell, he's all over the back of Logic. He wants to get himself up on the podium, and he knows that the laps are running down very quickly. Lap 9 of 10. Madwell is definitely on the move. Logic trying to hold on to P4 and possibly get himself back into P3. And all the while, he has to defend from the papaya car in his mirrors. P1 and 2 looking pretty comfortable at this stage in the race. They just need to get their cars to the end. But here for P3, still a lot has to be decided. Madwell, class act, goes up into P3. What a drive he's had tonight. Now I don't think he's going to be able to do too much about the leaders. It would surprise me if he could. But if he can't, it means he'll be starting from the front of the second row for the feature race. Remember how this race started. We have no qualifying session, so it was a reverse championship order. So that means we have a lot of passes in the field, and as you can see, Madwell, he's made up 10 positions. Started P13 up into P3, fantastic drive. But it's not the most positions. Brands has made up 12. Madwell, he's getting awfully close to P2. I thought it would be a step too far, but you know, he's getting awfully close. And I wonder how Jacques' tyre is doing. All of those cars in the top 13 are all on mediums, so this isn't going to come to someone's tyres falling off. This may just come down to pure pace, and you know what, I think he's done it. Madwell, he's done it easily. He's done it way before the corner, so no need for late braking. And Madwell just needs to keep that McLaren pointing in the right direction, and he's going to go over the line in P2. And that is the best damage control you can ask for in a reverse championship grid situation. A finish in P2, but better than that, I was about to start your evening with a victory. Afrodox goes over the line, wins the race at the end of the night by 2.2 seconds. He's followed by Madwell, strong drive at the end, and Jacques taking that final sprint podium position. Remember, it's not the top 10 that score points, it's just the top 8. and this also sets your grid for the feature race. Just waiting for the checkered flag to fall on everybody, and there we go. Just had the one penalty, I believe it was spikes, or did we have more? Or is it that we're still waiting for spikes? There we go, we're just waiting for spikes. I mentioned this track was inspired by tracks around the world. Well, that corner there, the final corner, that's Kyalami. If you're familiar with the Kyalami circuit, look at the pit entry and the final corner of COTA again, and you'll see something very familiar. Right, so I'm going to read out the results, and remember, this is your results for the sprint race, and this will also be your starting order for the race. So Afrodox P1, Madwell P2, then Jacques P3, Logic P4, they're followed by Brands, It's Free, Bithelsfontein and Pantry Star. Those are your top 8, and they got points in the sprint race. Then P9, we've got Midas, P10 Big T, they're followed by Top Gun, Venom, Virus, Mango, Mr. Rem, Simps, Andre, Microstatic, Spikes, and Reese making up the field. We've got a field of 20 drivers, folks. Turn 1's going to be interesting. And there we go. We're back, and bright sunshine, so all the drivers can breathe a sigh of relief. At least I breathe a sigh of relief, because I never know what the weather's going to be. So every time I see the sky is blue, I go, good. Well, sometimes I want it to rain. It's just more entertaining that way. Monaco in the rain. As a commentator, I love it. As a driver, rather not. Obviously, there is not a lot that you can change in between the sprint race and the feature race. Cars are under Parc Fermé. That should change in F124. Obviously, Parc Fermé does open temporarily between the sprint race and the feature race. Those rules changed this year. There's your 5 red lights. They're going to go out, and we're going to be underway. There we go. Williams versus McLaren into turn 1. Is Madwell going to be patient? Well, he waits. We just want to see everybody getting through turn 1, and it seems like everybody's got through turn 1. We don't see anybody dramatically falling through the field. So Afrodox leads the way. Madwell P2, Logic P3, It's Free in P4, Big T P5. They're followed by Brands, Midas, Jacques, Mango and Top Gun. Those are your top 10 drivers. Remember, we have 20 in the field. It's going to take a lot of work to get points here tonight. Very quick field. Ooh, and the McLarens. Was that contact between the McLarens ever so briefly? Logic takes full advantage, tries to get past both of them, lands up sandwiched between the two. Maybe it would be a good idea for the McLarens to keep a car between them, apparently. Afrodox leads the way from Madwell, then Logic has actually gone up into P2. Wonder if there was contact between those two McLarens. They've both just lost a bit of momentum now. Need to get their head back into the game. Wonder if any of those McLarens have damage. Just don't have a great camera angle right now, but that McLaren seems fine. What about the other? All end plates appear to be attached. We have had some instances in the past week where the car appears to be intact on the stream, but then the driver goes in and changes his wing anyway, which means the wing was damaged. But me and you, we couldn't see it. So if you do see a car dramatically dropping down the field and it's not ghosting and it doesn't have any damage, it probably does have damage. Afrodox out front, 1.1 seconds is the gap, already a nice comfortable gap before DRS even becomes a factor in this race. Then Brands in P3. He was having a good race in that sprint race. He was coming up through the field. Now he gets to start further up through the field and he has a lot more laps to play with. Remember, 20 cars in the field, a safety car, a very, very possible thing. All of those drivers will have that in their mind. Some of them will have underfueled in anticipation for that safety car. McLaren going up the inside of the Mercedes, and Madwell reclaims third spot. But while they have been scuffling, means Logic's been able to break DRS. He's 1.3 seconds up the road from Madwell. Madwell will now want to get some clean air, shake off that Mercedes and get himself further up the field. Up the field is where this man has been most of the night. Afrodox leads the way. That gap crucially no longer over a second, just 7 tenths. We'll just bring up some tyre info for everyone at home. Afrodox leading the way, just to rub some salt into the wounds. He is on the slowest compound of tyre right now. Early stages of the race on the hard tyre. Everyone behind him, or everyone he's racing at the moment rather, on the medium or the soft. Brands, he's on the soft. He's going for that, get a good start, make up as much ground in the first stint. That's his strategy. It's always a bit of a roll of the dice, especially when it comes to safety cars. If you're taking that into your potential strategy, starting on a soft, getting an early safety car, dropping those softs off, that's how it can work for you. Sometimes you start on the hard, get that early safety car, and you're just forced to stay out there and hold on to track position because your tires simply haven't done their job yet. Sometimes it's a little safer to start on the softs if you do get that early safety car, but if we have a race like we did last night, that safety car is not going to come and save you. Logic leads the way, but his gap is no longer a formidable one. Afrodox all over the back of him, then Madwell all over the back of Afrodox. Madwell looks to the inside, just didn't have the space, thought about it, then thought better of it. Cars very close together. Brands in P4, remember he's on the soft tyre, just 3 laps on those tyres, so those tyres will feel great. But he will have the first set of tyres to fall off, and everyone around him should be able to gobble him up pretty easily. He hasn't come into the pits, so easy to stay out on the compound a little too long, and you come out of the pits and you can't explain the time loss. Logic out front. This is very, very close. Now where is Madwell? These top 3 switching positions. Can we get a better camera angle? There we go. Logic leads the way from Afrodox. Madwell in P3. Logic leads the way. Now Afrodox, he was at the front for so long, now he's lost touch with the leader and he's coming under pressure for his second place. Madwell wants to get past. They almost went to wheel, but Madwell thought better of it. Thinks, let me wait for the straight, get right on the gearbox of this car, open up DRS, and it should be as easy as can be. And it seems that way. Madwell gets in front, goes up into P2. Logic has a 1 second lead. Afrodox isn't going to let that fly, surely he's going to come back. Then Brands P4. He's been having a pretty solid race, but hasn't really been making up any more momentum. making up any more ground. Sort of just plateaued in this race. Still be wanting to make up ground at this stage on those soft tyres. Resets the fastest lap of the race to 136.0. So we've got quick drivers up and down the field. Reese in P19 just set the quickest lap of the race. So that shows you the pace of the field. Logic leads, Madwell P2, but that gap at the front, a comfortable one. Madwell got through on the Williams, but he wasn't able to extend any sort of gap. Williams is right on the back of him, and now we could just have a repeat of what happened a lap ago. Williams will just sit there patiently waiting for the DRS zone. If he's got a bit of battery, which we can see he does, really shouldn't be any problem for him. Just needs to make sure he's on the back of that car, as close to the McLaren as he can be. So frustrating when you open up DRS and you immediately realize, nope, it's too far behind. Let's see what the Williams can do. I think this time it was too far behind. He's going to get nice and close, but it's not enough. That's what DRS can do. You make a mistake or two, you lose a couple of tenths, the next DRS zone just pulls you right back into your opponent. When you fall out of DRS, those mistakes, they multiply quickly. Logic at the front, Madwell P2, Aphrodix P3. Gap at the front, 1.3 seconds. Not able to stay with the Alpine in the early stages. Second McLaren of SAFRL down in P10. We have a Haas and an Alpha Tauri. Trading positions, that's Big T and that's Big T and Mango. Midas, Mango's teammate, just behind in P7. Simps takes the position away from Top Gun, moves up to P8. We often forget about the midfield. A lot of the time, that's where most of the action is. This is Top Gun on the back of SAFRL. These guys in a DRS train, all for P8. Simps, SAFRL, Top Gun. And we can see Big T all over the back of Mango. Mango all over the back of Brands. Lots of DRS battles out on track. In fact, we have one for the lead. Logic leads the way. Madwell P2, Aphrodix P3, 6/10 of a second cover the three lead cars. And either we're going to have some epic racing or we're going to have a disaster. Aphrodix P3, Madwell P2, Logic P1, all three of these drivers have the pace to win the race. Mango now up into P4, we haven't mentioned him yet, but if he gets some clean air, we know how quick Mango is. He's got that clean air, 2.3 seconds, and while these three out ahead trade places, battle for position, it's going to make it even easier for Mango to close that gap. Remember, he's in P4, 2.3 seconds adrift from this battle. Out front, Logic and Madwell trade places. Madwell leads the way. Logic goes up into P2 ever so briefly, does he? Yes, he does. No, he doesn't. Aphrodix up the inside. I have no idea. The Alpine did come out on top. Very nicely done. Logic stays in P2. What that's done is look at that. 1.3 seconds in no time. Madwell has opened up a gap for the lead, and that is as a result of these two squabbling away. What it's also done is that 2.2 second gap down to Mango is now just 1.5 seconds. So Mango is going to be part of that battle very soon. Logic and Aphrodix need to get their heads down and get back up the road, try and catch Madwell. That gap 1.4 seconds. Can't let that gap get out of control. Got to try and reel him back into DRS. And if they continue to battle, McLaren could simply disappear up the road, never to be seen again. Mango did make up a bit of time when those cars were squabbling, but now time has just balanced out. And as I say that, he finds 2/10, so the gap goes 1.3 seconds. As soon as he gets into DRS, it's going to be so much easier for him to catch those two ahead of him. They're still close. Logic and Aphrodite covered by 2/10 of a second. And the more they fight, and the more they get involved with each other corner to corner, it's just going to help Mango come back into this. But Mango's actually falling back 1.6 seconds. Madwell out front 1.9 seconds. I think that's the biggest gap we've had in the entire race so far. We're about to start lap 9 of 28. Mango picks up a 3-second time penalty. That's the thing, when the field is this close together and you're pushing, you're looking for an extra 10th here and there, all of a sudden you get one of these. It's worth 3 seconds, and it changes things entirely. For instance, Logic is in a battle with Aphrodite on circuit, as we can see. But in the timing sheets, Aphrodite is way ahead of Logic. So the penalties come in, they mess things up, and then the worst thing that can happen to you if you have a whole lot of penalties is you get a very late safety car in the race. One of those situations where you have a 3 or 4 lap sprint to the end, gaps aren't able to open, and those penalties become an absolute disaster. Let's have a look at the penalties. Nothing serious, just 3-second penalties for Logic, Mango and Venom. We've had our first retirement, and it's a Ferrari. It's Jacques. Comes the first retirement of the evening, and that means we are under safety car conditions. We now focus all of our attention on what will the drivers do, who does what. Do you come into the pits? Do you stay out? Do you hold on to track position? What is the plan? This is the sort of thing that just throws a wrench in the plans of the drivers. Last night we saw practically the perfect race. If you just want to go according to strategy, you set your strategy at the start of the race. There's no safety cars, no weather to worry about, and you can just put that strategy into practice. But obviously as soon as safety cars become involved, the strategy alters. We see that now. Madwell into the pits, Logic into the pits, Aphrodite into the pits, everybody into the pits, nobody looking to stay out and hold on to track position. I think it would be a terrible idea to stay out and try and hold on to track position at this stage. And everybody has taken this opportunity to visit the pits, so the mechanics were working overtime. Evening to evening to Revolution. If you've just joined us, it's lap 10 of 28. We are under our first safety car. Of course, we had a virtual safety car, now we're under safety car. Madwell leads the way from Logic, Aphrodite P3. What this will do is it will close up any gaps that had formed, and there weren't that many. Gap was still very close together. Field was very close together. Now whatever gaps had formed, they no longer exist. Everybody's going to be compressed back in together. The safety car will eventually come in. We'll have a restart, and everybody's going to have an opportunity into turn 1 again. Hopefully it's the final safety car of the evening. and we don't get anything special happening into turn 1. And in fact, if you saw the Tier 2 race, if I'm not mistaken, the SAFRL Tier 2 race last week on Wednesday night, then you would have seen that sometimes you don't have to wait till turn 1 for a safety car. Safety car ended, safety car went into the pits, we were winding up for a restart, and before we got to the start finish line, I believe it was a McLaren, went into the wall of champions, activating the safety car, and well, we just never got going. We had a double safety car. We now have the 2 leaders both out on hards. Suggestions from the comment section is that at least Madwell will take those tyres to the end. It will be quite the stretch. Wonder how those tyres will feel towards the end of the race in the closing stages. Might be a bit of a handful. Time being, everything neutralized. Madwell leads from Logic, Afrodox P2, Big T P4, Simps P5, so the order has switched around a little. Remember, everybody came into the pits on the same lap, and what happens is some of those cars will have either double stacked or spent more time in the pits than they would have liked because of being released late, because of the amount of traffic. That will have just mixed up the order a little bit. If you were the second teammate to go in and you had to wait for your teammate to get finished, means a whole bunch of cars might have just got past you. Brands was having a better race. He's now in P8. Let's go to the front, because the safety car is pulling off into the distance. Madwell backing up the field already. Of course, the moment that safety car crosses the pit lane entry, then it becomes the responsibility of this McLaren driver, Madwell, to lead the way, become the temporary safety car. He decides when the race restarts, and there can be no overtaking till the start finish line. Sometimes we'll see these guys accelerate around the final corner. Sometimes we'll see them go just before that start finish line. So we'll see what Madwell does. Looked like he was going to go for a moment there, but he doesn't. He's holding up the whole field. And here we go. Madwell gets us back underway. Logic P2, Afrodox P3. Will there be any switches into turn 1? No, there won't. Sanity prevails. Madwell from Logic, Afrodox P3, then Big T, Mango, Simps, It's Free, Brands, Top Gun, and Venom just popped himself up into the top 10. Courtesy of Pantry Star losing a position. Virus P12, Midas 13, Mr. Rem 14, Andre 15, Reese 16, Microstatic 17, and Spikes making up the field. We've actually lost Buffelsfontein. We missed that, but we've lost Buffelsfontein, so that means from the 20 runners we've got 18 left, and we have lost both Scarlet Red Ferraris. Not the sort of evening that Ferrari would have wanted. Logic going left, going right, letting Madwell know he's there. Trust me, Madwell knows you're there. Now Venom picks up a 3-second time penalty. Lots of penalties going on, and this is really going to affect things. It's going to affect that result. Let's have a look at those penalties, if there's anything serious or if it's just 3-second penalties. It's all 3-second penalties. 3 seconds apiece for Logic, Mango, Top Gun and Reese. And then Venom, well, he stacked them up to 6 penalties already in the early stages. Madwell from Logic, Logic from Afrodox, Afrodox from Mango. All these cars line astern. Big T P5. They've slightly broken away now from P6. P6 has a DRS train to worry about. Simps leads the way from Brands. It's Free, Top Gun, Venom, Pantry, Virus, Mr. M, Reese. All of these cars trying to get past him. Followed by Reese is Andre, Spikes, Microstatic and Midas. All of those cars, with the exception of Midas, in a DRS train. At the front, Madwell, Logic, Afrodox, those 3 names. Getting tired of reading them out. The only thing that changes occasionally is the order. Mango still in P4. Hasn't quite been able to break into the top 3. Yeah, Skull, it's been a good stream so far, but that's because it's been a fantastic race so far. And if you want an overtaking reel, that's got to go on the overtaking reel. Mango, if he's able to hold on to this, is he able to hold on to it? Goes side by side, eventually loses out to the Alpine, but initially that was a triple overtake. Very impressive stuff by Mango. Triple overtake. Top Gun in the second Williams, down in P17. It's followed by Midas, making up the field. We've got some quick names at the back of the field. Just shows you the level of competition in this tier. You can be really, really quick, but if you're not at the top of your game, or if something goes wrong in the race, it means you could find yourself right at the back. Mango leads the way from Logic, Madwell P3, Simps, he's come up into P4, pretty anonymously actually. I haven't spoken much about the Red Bulls. Keep your eyes on Simps, he's doing a fantastic job. Brands, Big T, I think I saw a car just drop through the field there. Mango picks up a 3-second time penalty. These are going to come back. I keep on saying it, but these will come back to hurt these drivers. Now both drivers in the front, Mango and Logic, both of them have penalties next to their name. So Madwell sitting in P3, if the checkered flag were to fall right now, would actually win this race. In fact, the 2 leaders wouldn't even be present on the podium if the checkered flag fell this very moment. So they need to get on with it. Mango sets the fastest lap of the race as he goes into the lead of the race. Logic P2, Madwell P3, Simps P4, then Brands, Big T, Free, Afrodox, Venom, and Pantry start trading places with Reese, desperately trying to hold on to that final point. Last thing you want to do is go home at night empty-handed. That 1 point can mean so much, and you can bet Pantry Star is going to defend it like it was a win. Goes side by side with the Mercedes, but runs out of race circuit, has to give in. Reese goes up into P10, and for the time being takes that 1 point away from the Alfa Romeo, takes it for himself. Mango leads the way, 1.1 seconds at the front, starting to open up the gap. 1.5 seconds at the front, so I wonder if Madwell made a mistake of some kind. Oh, he's coming under heavy pressure from the Alpine of Logic. These cars have been so close for so long. Our mistake, our accident hasn't happened yet, I don't know. Or it's simply class and the respect and the speed between all of these opponents. even some of them rivals. Contact is something we seldom see. Mango out front, almost 2 seconds. You can see him, he's already entering the S's. These guys are exiting turn 1. Madwell, Logic, Simps, that's P2, P3, P4. Then Brands a little bit further behind, and he's got a DRS train behind him, a long DRS train behind him. Was that a car going straight off? No, it wasn't. It was a terrible camera angle. I thought I saw Williams driving straight off the circuit. Front. Mango leads the way. Madwell P2. Logic P3. You can see the battery management on the screen. Don't like to give out the levels. Sometimes the drivers are listening and they get angry when you give away their private data. Now Simps in the Red Bull, trading places with Logic. We look for a better camera angle. There's one. We may have missed some of that action already. There we go, Simps side by side with the Alpine again. This time he's got the inside, should be able to hold on to it. And again the Alpine this time just running out of track on the outside, trying to stay off the curb. Trying to stay within the white line. Sometimes you fail defending your position and you get a penalty to boot. So right now all 3 manufacturers in the top 3, Haas, McLaren, Red Bull. It's not an order you're going to hear every day. Midas, Mango's teammate, more in a place you'd expect to see a Haas. It's in P18, where you'd expect to see an Alpine. Microstatic 17, where you'd expect to see a Williams and an Alfa Romeo. So 15, 16, 17 and 18. Those positions are realistic. As for the Haas leading the race, I don't know about that one. Madwell continues at the front, that gap 2.9 seconds. Logic P3. Goes up into P3, retakes that Red Bull. But look at this DRS train, still so much can happen. Anyone here can finish in P3, from Logic to Simps to It's4, Brands and Afrodox. All part of a DRS train, and Big T just needs to find a 10th. And he'll be part of that DRS train too. No DRS trains to worry about for your leader. 2.7 seconds is the gap. Then Madwell P2. He has a 2.7 second gap of his own down to P3. So both those cars comfortable and in their own little bubble of a race. As for P3, all sorts of pressure. We have a DRS train fighting for P3 all the way down to P8. Simps, Ferrari, Brands, Afrodox and Big T. And if you're Logic, you look down at your battery and all you can do is pray. You know everybody behind you is going to have DRS. You're going to be a little bit defenseless. Speaking of defenseless, here comes the Red Bull, opens up DRS. Is he going to get it on this lap? Looks like he's in front before he gets to the corner, is he? Looks like the Red Bull's got him, yes. Red Bull through into P3, Logic back into P4, but I'm sure that's not the last time we're going to see those two cars trade places today. Ooh. Seems like we have an issue, folks. I apologize. I need to just find out what's going on. I'll be back with you. I'll be back with you shortly. There we go, sorry about that. We had a technical issue, as you can see, but apparently they also had a technical issue in the race. We missed it. Seems like Reese became the latest car to join the DNF column, and that DNF has obviously triggered a safety car. That's what we're looking at now. So race neutralized once again in the late stages of the race. Mango leads from Madwell, Sims P3, Logic P4, and it's Free making up the top 5. Remember what I mentioned more than once earlier on in this stream. These penalties will hurt you if a safety car comes out late in the race. Let's just have a look. Bring your stats back up and we can have a look at those penalties. Have they just remained at the 3 seconds? 3 seconds apiece for Simps, Logic, Aphrodox, Top Gun and Midas, and then Mango and Venom sitting on 6 seconds apiece. We'll have a look at the tyre situation, and predictably everyone made use of that late safety car, came in, got a set of soft tyres. So now we're going to have the entire field of 17 with the exception of one. So 16 of the 17 drivers will be on a brand new set of softs for the final stint of the race. The other one is Microstatic. Microstatic has stayed out. Where is Microstatic? Let's have a look. There we go. It's the Haas driver. It's the Alpine driver, sorry. The Alpine driver. That explains why he's on such a different strategy. That car appears to be ghosting. So Microstatic, or at least the car of Microstatic, stays out on track and has chosen a hard set of tyres. So everybody behind that Alpine should be able to make up easy positions at the start of the race. We're going to get another lap behind the safety car, and surely this will be the last of them, as the entire field is already together as the lap gets underway. Thanks to the guys that helped me get into the lobby so quickly. I was able to get an invite very, very fast. I'm sure some of the viewers in the chat got their invites out. Sorry about that to the viewers for the break in connection. My connection's not looking so great as we speak, so hopefully we can get through to the 28 laps. Got this little bar at the bottom of my screen that it's always been green. I've never seen it another color, and now it's, well, it's orange, so that's probably not a good thing. Obviously tonight was a sprint night. We did not have qualifying. We had a sprint race to determine the grid, and it looks like the guys haven't had enough sprint races, because now we're going to have a sprint to the end. And in actual fact, this will be even shorter than the sprint race. So Mango's going to lead the way from Madwell, but Mango's got those penalties hanging over his head. Madwell's got no penalties. Simpson, Logic, P3 and 4 also have penalties hanging over their head. And it's going to be very important for them to open up some notable gaps so they can cancel out those penalties. Otherwise, all of those cars I just mentioned are going to lose position. Mango, the Haas driver, now takes up that responsibility of deciding when to go, and he's gone a lot earlier than we've seen before. He's on his way. Remember, no overtaking till the start-finish line. That rule can catch you out at a circuit like COTA when the start-finish line comes a lot later down the straight. Midas retires from the session, and hopefully not. We've got a caution in the top left, and hopefully it stays that way. Mango leads the way from Sims, Madwell P3, Logic P4, and then the second McLaren of F123 P5. We still have a caution. Brands P6, then Big T, Afrodox, Venom and Andre making up the top 10. Outside the top 10, Mr. M, Pantry Star, Virus, Microstatic, he's just dropped a position. Spikes goes 14, Top Gun 15, and Microstatic has fallen to the rear of the field. As a result of that ghost car situation, up at the front, Mango leads, and he's got a great lead, but is he going to be able to open something in excess of a 6-second lead? Anything less than 6 seconds will not be good enough for the win. But he's just gone purple there through another sector, so we know he's giving it everything in the closing stages, and this will be helping him out a little bit. Simps coming under all sorts of pressure from Madwell, Logic, it's for Brands. That P2 far from decided, and that should help Mango just get up the road a little bit. But is there going to be enough time for him to get 6 seconds up the road? And at this rate, he's going quick enough. Another fastest lap, 32.7 for Mango. And while Simps, Madwell, Logic, it's for all of his competitors are struggling in car-to-car, wheel-to-wheel action, Mango's able to open the gap at the front, and that gap already crucially up to 3 seconds. Remember, he needs to open it up to just a little bit more than 6, and that will secure him victory. Sims P2, Madwell P3, Logic P4. The second McLaren sitting within DRS, but at a slightly safer distance than everybody else. Just watching the action ahead, waiting for some sort of incident that he can capitalize on. Big T also defending in a battle of his own with Afrodox. Then Venom a little further down the road. He's defending from Andre. He's had a real up and down race. Had a time in the race where he was right at the back of the field in P18, I think it was. Having a much better race now. He's up into the points in P9. And he'll be hoping to grab another position or two before this is over. Simps up into P3, Logic P4. These cars trading positions left and right. How we haven't seen more carbon fiber flying around the circuit, I'm not quite sure. These guys are doing a fantastic job. Not only are they racing hard, as quick as they can, they're doing so cleanly without running into each other. Let me know in the comment section, is everything okay? Can you guys hear me? Can you see the race? Has everything fixed itself? I hope that is the case, because we've got quite the race on our screens, and it would be a real pity if you guys couldn't see it. Mango leads the way, 4.8 seconds. He's pushing for everything that he's got. He's leaning on those soft tires, abusing them, getting everything he can out of them, practically putting in quali lap after quali lap at the moment. He knows he needs to open that gap to above 6 seconds. But one of the most important things he needs to remember is sometimes when you're looking for those quicker laps, you can just go over the lines, and the last thing you want is to add another 3 seconds to that penalty column. Madwell just ahead of Simps, just ahead of Logic. Mad will have the peace of mind of knowing those two competitors just behind him do have penalties. So if he does lose on a position, it won't be the end of the world, but I can bet you he doesn't want to lose out on a position, wants to finish in that order on the tarmac, doesn't want to rely on penalties. Thanks Skull, just the confirmation that the stream is going well. Skull saying that it's going to rain. Well, that would be a shocker. Just 3 laps to go. What would you do in that situation if it suddenly started raining? Surely we can't have the whole field coming into the pits. We'd have guys going around on slicks trying to get to the end, but for now we don't see any raindrops on our screen. So we'll just keep the faith that it's going to stay dry for our sake. Maybe not for our sake, for the driver's sake. For our sake, I'd love it to start raining right now and skip the inters, go straight to wet conditions. That'll shake things up. Have a Johannesburg style cloudburst. That's when one moment it's boiling hot, the next moment looked like a typhoon went past. Mango leads the way, 4.8 seconds. Logic P3, Simps P4, it's free. Still keeps that McLaren in the top 5. We've got 2 McLarens in the top 5, so good evening for that team. Afrodox had it all his own way in SKR last night. It's not the case today. It's down in P6. So many quick drivers in this field. Said it earlier, if you're not absolutely at the top of your game, you're not going to be at the top of the field, because someone in this field is going to be at the top of their game. Tonight, Mango on track, he's on top of his game, but unfortunately for him, I don't think he's going to get those 6 seconds. I wonder if he was just pushing too hard, took the best out of those slicks, out of those softs early on. Gap now 4.1 seconds. Madwell has no penalties next to his name. So if the checkered flag were to fall right now, Madwell would claim the lead. He would claim the victory. Talking about the last 2 laps for rain. We are now in that range. And either it's my imagination, I think I just saw something flash in the middle of our screens. Let's go on board with the driver to get a better view. Do you guys see any rain? I think that's rain, folks. We have raindrops. Raindrops on our screen. And that means we're going to finish in the rain, and surely nobody's going to come in for inters. At this point, it's way too early. And on the next lap, it's going to be way too late. So you're just going to have to stay out for 2 laps on the soft tyre and hope that this track doesn't evolve too quickly. Because if this whole field is on the final lap on a very wet track with soft tyres, we might still see a very interesting result. Mango was able to extend that lead all the way up to 4.5 seconds, then it came back down to 4, now it's down to 3. So the rain obviously just putting the leader off a little. Madwell in P2, he doesn't seem to be too perturbed by the conditions so far. Logic 3, Free 4, Big T5. Remember, the raindrops won't immediately have an effect on the grip. But I think at least halfway through, or the final half a lap of this race, I think drivers may just start to be feeling it. Let's go on board. Everything still looks okay for now. Track looks dry. No spray coming off anybody's tyres. I think these guys are just going to be safe. tell you what, if we had another safety car, it could have brought this rain forward, and we could have had 2 or 3 laps in the rain. But we've just missed out on that action, because the rain is falling. But the time is coming to an end. We just have 1 lap to go. Look at that horse, it is squirming left and right. These drivers, even at the front, the quickest drivers in the field, the best drivers in the field, they're struggling for grip. Everyone's struggling for grip. The track is starting to lose grip. Luckily for these drivers, just 1 lap to go. Sometimes in these conditions, on these sorts of tyres, you just get tempted to take it a little easier than you would, but you just can't. Not in these race conditions. There's always going to be someone behind you that's a little braver than you. Can't lose positions in the closing stages. Pantry Star, remember him? He got up into P10 to take that final point. He's still there. He's in P10 and he's defending from Mr. M. So those cars still trading places, looking for that final point. Thanks for that, Death Queen. Yeah, if you're watching, obviously hit the like button. Helps us in the algorithms. It gets us on more feeds and it gets more people watching our videos. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, help us get to that 150 subscribers mark. Got to 100 real quick. The next 50, it's been tough. So Mango has done exactly what he needed to do, except stay out of the penalties column. Madwell's really caught up to him at the end, so Madwell's going to take the victory regardless of what it looks like on track. Madwell goes over the line first. Mango actually went over the line second. Looks like he just lost it at the end there. Not sure what happened. Where is Logic? Logic actually landed up losing a lot of ground. A lot of drivers losing a lot of ground. So Mango will hold on to that second place. I couldn't have predicted that with the penalties that he had next to his name. But we'll just wait for the final results. Let all these penalties sort themselves out. In fact, Virus decided to end the race on inters. The only man to do so. The green wall tyre to match his car. Virus over the line, P14. And then Microstatic obviously ghosting at the end. So 5 cars going over the line from the 20 that started. And what a race it was. When we thought we'd had enough, we got a little bit of rain at the end. Mango gets driver of the day. And Madwell takes victory on the evening. Now for your official race results. Madwell takes the victory for McLaren. Mango, great challenge right to the end, and look at that fastest lap. Nobody actually got close to him. 32.7, so he gets the extra point. 19 points on the night. Then it's Ferrari takes the final podium spot. 2 McLarens in the top 3. Good night for them. Logic P4, Big T P5, Afrodox P6, Pantry Star 7, Simps 8, Venom 9, and Andre, he gets that final point at the end. Not in the points, Mr. Rem 11, Top Gun 12, It's Spikes 13, Virus 14, and Microstatic making up the field. DNFs on the night for Brands, Midas, Reese, Bifflesfontein, and Jacques. There we go, folks. There we have it. SAFRL Season 7, Round 4 at COTA. And what a race it was. We had a great sprint race. We had a great race. We had a technical problem in the middle, but luckily we were able to get in here very quickly. I hope you all enjoyed. Streamed it really well tonight. In fact, we got more views just this evening than The video usually gets in a week. So congratulations to all the drivers. Thank you to everyone in the comment section, everyone who joined the stream, everyone who interacted. If you haven't subscribed, you know what to do. Hit the bell notification so that you get a notification every time we go live. And thank you everyone. We'll be back to do all of this again. Sprint race at COTA for SAFRL Tier 2 on Wednesday night. And until then, cheers.